Also, we will be, I'll drop the sign-in sheet in the chat. So I'd like you all just to just put your name and uni, and we'll share this with Hannah and the business school as well, so that they can have information, especially of individuals who have interest in Columbia Business School, especially the program we're going to talk about today. I am Nikki Youngblood Giles. I'm one of the deans for Beyond Barnard, and so excited that you all are joining us for day 2 of our series, An Intro to Business School. And so this whole week is planned to support students and alums who have interest in business school and thinking about there's an option post-Barnard. And today we are just so excited to have with us Hannah Dentz, and she is one of our colleagues at Columbia Business School. And she's going to share a little bit more about herself and about her work with the business school, and especially talk to us today about the Deferred Enrollment Program, which is a wonderful opportunity for students who already know that this is a great option for them, and then are thinking about, you know, I want to do this and I want to take some time after Barnard to go and work and develop some skills and perspective on business and on industry, and then take that knowledge into the classroom when thinking about an MBA. And this is probably one of a kind. This is in the fact that it is really targeted towards the brilliant minds at Barnard. So we're happy to feature Hannah and the Columbia Business School. So I'll shift it over to Hannah and let her take it over from here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nikki. It's great to be here today. So yes, so I am an admissions officer at Columbia Business School. And in addition to that, I'm also a Barnard alumna. I graduated in 2014. I was a history major when I was at Barnard, so a little bit different than business school. We'll talk more about that today. So it's always just so much fun for me to get to engage with the current Barnard students and other alumni. Since we're a small group, you know, it would be great to hear a little bit about both of you, Sophia and Alexandra. If you guys wouldn't mind just letting me know through the chat what year you guys are at Barnard, it would just be great to have a sense of sort of where you are in your education at this point. So but I came back to Morningside Heights about 2 years ago. Prior to that, I was a campus recruiter for a large global asset manager, BlackRock. So in that role, I hired entry-level investment analyst roles, also summer analysts across the different groups. And so I've been in this kind of broader space for a while now. And so today, I want to talk to you about our deferred enrollment program. But since we are a small group, please do feel free to pop questions into the chat, you know, as we go along. I want to make sure that I make today's session as informative for all of you and as helpful for all of you as possible. So diving right in, we can talk about, you know, why DEP and what exactly is it. So as Nikki was saying, we started the Deferred Enrollment Program in 2019, and this is the opportunity for undergraduate students to apply to business school while they're still in school. And then the way it works is you get to choose to defer coming to the business school for anywhere between 2 years and 5 years while you go off and you gain work experience and you travel and you do all of the wonderful things that you're looking forward to doing post-Barnard. And this is such an amazing opportunity because it really gives the students who are admitted through the program this incredible safety net where you can go off and start your career knowing that it's okay to take risks and take chances because you've already secured your admission to business school and you have that in your back pocket. Oh, great. Okay, so Alexandra, you class of 2013. Okay, you're looking at the JD MBA. Awesome, super helpful. So I'll also talk about kind of just like general admissions outside of deferred enrollment program. Sophia, I think you might be a current student, so I'll just kind of go back and forth. But so Alexandra, for your context, of course, at CBS, for everyone else, you are expected to apply the year that you're ready to enroll. So in your case, you know, with the JD MBA, typically you would start at the business school, do your first 2 terms consecutively, and then go over to the law school, just so you know about that. And of course, we have a few different application options, which we can talk about a little bit more as we go along for kind of the standard process. But in general, why an MBA, whether you're looking at the deferred enrollment program or you're looking at kind of the standard process, of course, a few really good things to know about the degree. It very significantly increases your salary potential. It grants you much greater freedom in terms of job and career choices. It helps you to gain leadership skills. It really helps you to expand your network in a way that would be very difficult to do in any other environment. You meet the future business leaders from all around the world across every different possible industry. And of course, it gives you the opportunity to just develop the general business knowledge and skills that are going to be so critical as you kind of rise up the ranks throughout your career and go on to take more significant leadership roles on. So just some quick facts about CBS. For the full-time MBA program, we have 2 different entry options. We have our August entry option, which is for the sort of typical 2-year MBA where you have a summer off in the middle to do an internship. And every year, about 550 students enter in August. We also have a January entry option. Every year, approximately 200 students enter in January. The January entry option is very interesting. It's our accelerated 16-month MBA. So that entry option is really geared towards applicants who are not looking to use their MBA to make a very significant career transition. So you'll tend to see a lot of folks choosing the January entry option who maybe are planning to return to the same industry post-MBA that they were already working in pre-MBA. You see a lot of folks who maybe work for their family business choosing that option, folks who are perhaps sponsored by their current employer, that sort of a thing. Regardless of whether you enter in August or in January though, students at CBS are divided into what we call a cluster, which is the group of about 70 or so students who you actually take all of what we call your core classes with. So during your first term, your schedule will be set for you and you'll be taking all those kind of foundational business classes, corporate finance, statistics, accounting, etc. And then in your second term, you are wrapping up the core, you're taking operations management, and you're starting to take your electives. And then your last 2 terms at CBS are all electives. And so, you know, that cluster, it really becomes like your family right away when you come to CBS. You know, in addition to being in classes together, you're also having dinner parties at each other's apartments and celebrating holidays together and going away on trips on the weekends. So it's a really, really great way that you kind of right away form very strong bonds when you come to CBS. Kind of just to tell you a little bit more about the community at CBS, we also have over 90 student clubs and organizations. So you'll be forming really close connections with many of your peers, not just those in your cluster. And the student organizations are very, very active, just the same way that they are at Barnard. And when you graduate, this number is actually slightly outdated. We now have over 47,000 alumni world. Once you graduate, you become a part of an extremely strong network. Of course, you're all already, in your case, Alexandra, already part of the very strong Barnard alumni network. Sophia, you'll soon be a part of that. but it's great to have both, right? It's great to be able to draw both on the strong network of Barnard as well as the strong network of CPS. And of course, there's a lot of overlap between the two, which I'll talk about a little bit more later. So Sophia, specifically for you, for the deferred enrollment program, you will, of course, be able to apply this year once you start your senior year. And just so you know, for anyone who is listening to this, you can also apply if you go directly from undergrad at Barnard into a master's program. You can also apply from that master's program as long as you do not stop to get work experience. So really for folks who are applying before they get that professional work experience. So specifically, the application is generally pretty similar across deferred enrollment program and kind of the standard process. So I'll talk about the ways in which it's the same, and then we can talk about the slight differences. So either way, it's going to be the online application form. You will be asked to submit your academic transcripts from Barnard. So we'll be able to see, you know, what classes you took and how you performed in them. For the purpose of when you apply, the transcripts can be unofficial. So if you just have like a PDF, you know, sitting in your inbox, that's totally fine. We only need those official ones that are, you know, signed and sealed and sent from Barnard's administration if you're admitted. So just something to know to kind of keep the process moving along. Either way, you will need to submit a standardized test score. We accept a few different options for this, so you can just choose whichever one, you know, you feel you'll perform the best on and kind of best aligns with your skill sets. We accept the GMAT, the GRE, and an exam called the executive assessment. For those who are applying directly from undergrad for the deferred enrollment program, Sophia, we do tend to see more folks gravitating towards the GMAT and or the GRE. The executive assessment is a little bit of a better match for those who have got some work experience under their belt. And then of course, Alexandra, in your case, as I'm sure you know, typically folks who are applying for the JD MBA will go the GRE route, although of course you're welcome to do, if you prefer to do the LSAT and the GMAT, that's completely, you know, up to you. In addition to the test scores, you will be asked to upload a current resume. You know, the resume ideally is 1 to 2 pages, really not necessary for anything longer than that. In the case of folks who are applying for the deferred enrollment program, of course, we know that you don't have professional work experience yet, so don't worry, we're not expecting your resume to look like someone who's been in the workforce. But we just ask that you include, you know, if you have any part-time work experience, any internships, if you are in a leadership role in any student organizations on campus or in your community, including that kind of information. And then for those who are applying who do have work experience, what I always say is you don't need to feel like you need to submit like a special academic resume. You know, it's exactly the same resume that you would submit were you applying for a new job is what we want to see. So kind of following those same principles of highlighting, you know, your key achievements, quantifying your accomplishments where possible, being really clear about where you've had opportunities for growth or to take on new responsibilities. All of that is great. You will also be asked to submit letters of recommendation as part of your application. So talking first about for folks applying through the standard process. Through the standard process, you are asked to submit 2 letters of recommendation. These can come from anybody really who you have been professionally accountable to, who knows you well. So ideally, we do like to hear from your current manager or supervisor, but of course we recognize that you may not feel comfortable sharing your business school plans with your current manager, in which case we of course do not expect you to jeopardize your position or your bonus or anything. You know, you can just ask people like former managers or clients or vendors who you've worked closely with, indirect managers, mentors. These are all great examples of people who we're happy to hear from. The most important thing is that it's someone who knows you well and can really tell us with some, kind of detail what makes you so fabulous and what would make you such a strong fit for Columbia Business School. On the deferred enrollment side, you're only asked to submit one letter of recommendation because, of course, you haven't started working yet. And we don't expect that this comes from a professional relationship. I mean, if you've had, of course, some kind of part-time job or internship and you want to ask your supervisor, that's great. But we are happy to hear from, a professor who you've been close with, an advisor, someone from the Barnard administration you have a relationship with, all examples of people who we are really happy to hear from. And then the last piece I'll just talk about is the essays. So for the deferred enrollment program, you're asked to submit 3 short answer questions, which are all available online now. And basically they just give us an opportunity to get to know you a little bit better. They give you an opportunity to tell us, why you think that an MBA will help you in your career, why you're interested in pursuing one, kind of help us get a better understanding of your motivation for applying. And on the kind of standard application process side, it's 3 longer essays, but similar in that they give you an opportunity to talk about why you want an MBA, what your career plans are in sort of the short term and the long term, why you're choosing to apply to CBS, things like that. And what I always tell people at these kinds of events is, you're already doing a really great job of researching CBS and getting to know Columbia because you're here at today's event, you're hearing from me, and that's really great. And definitely let the research you've been doing kind of show in the application process. If there are things specifically about Columbia that excite you, whether it's a class you think you want to take or a club you think you would want to join or a professor you would want to study with, feel free to include those details in your essays or your short answers because we do love to see that you've been doing that research to get to know CBS and make sure it's the right fit for you. So yeah, this slide shows you for the deferred enrollment program what the short answer questions are. Although the third one, I apologize, this is a slightly outdated slide. The third one this year, I think, will be revised. I believe it's in the process of being revised. So those first 2 you can expect to see again, but likely that third one will change. And then for the standard application process, those applications are already open, so you can see those essay questions online. So this slide lays out the timeline for the deferred enrollment program, and then I'll talk about the timeline for the regular application process. So the deadline will be April 15th, 2021 to submit a deferred enrollment program application. And we typically start reviewing applications and then releasing admissions decisions about 2 weeks later. Once you review your application, you will hear back from us that either you have been invited for an interview or that the process will end there. The interview will be a one-on-one interview with a member of the admissions team, myself or one of my colleagues. And it's really just an opportunity for us to kind of get to know you better, beyond what we could read about in the application process. So it'll be a chance for us to talk to you about, why you're looking to go to business school eventually and what you're hoping to do post-graduation, things like that. It's very conversational, nobody would ever throw you like a technical question or like a case or anything like that in that environment. So don't worry, it's not that kind of a test. And then after you have your interview, you hear back with your final admissions decision within 2 weeks. So we do keep that process moving along. You know, right now, because of the current pandemic, of course, all interviews are virtual and have been virtual. We don't know what spring 2021 will bring. So, you know, at this point, I would say just kind of be prepared that it could be going either way. Hopefully things will have improved by then so that we're back to offering the opportunity to interview in person on campus. But it could end up being virtual, just depending on the situation. So if you apply to the Deferred Enrollment Program this year, you'll have the option to matriculate somewhere between 2023 to 2027, depending on how many years you want to defer for. And the nice thing about it being admitted through Deferred Enrollment Program is that you can choose to matriculate in either that August entry or that January entry option. So you don't have to decide when you apply to the program, oh, I want to matriculate in January of 2024. Don't worry, we don't expect you to know that yet. It's an ongoing process where we're in communication with you each year and you're letting us know. But you have that flexibility to just kind of see how your career is evolving and then decide which entry option makes sense for you. And for the Deferred Enrollment Program, the way that the scholarships decision works is once you tell us what year and what term you're planning to join us for, at that time we reevaluate your application for those scholarship and fellowship opportunities. So we don't award those at the time of admission to the Deferred Enrollment Program. We wait until you're ready to actually join CBS, and we give you that decision at that time, because of course circumstances can change a lot between 2 and 5 years. For the general application process though, going to just talk a little bit about that. I apologize, I don't have this on the slide, but what makes CBS a little bit different from some of our peer schools is that we don't have any rounds. So the most important thing to know is that we have a few key deadlines, but no rounds. So we have an early decision deadline, which is for folks who know that if they're admitted to CBS, this is definitely the school that they want to go to, they'll 100% come. That's in early October. Then we have a deadline in early January, which is our deadline for when you need to apply by to be considered for merit-based fellowship. And then we have a final deadline in April. But the nice thing about our process is that you don't have to wait to apply until the deadline, because we do have a rolling admissions process. So for CBS, for the general process, once you have your application in the shape you want it to be in and you feel like it's ready to go, you can go ahead and hit submit. And the way it works is that you hear back from us within 6 weeks, letting you know if you've been invited for an interview or if the process will end there. As I was just talking about with the Deferred Enrollment Program, the interview is one-on-one. We don't know if these will be, right now, of course, they're all entirely virtual. We don't know when we'll be able to phase back in-person interviews, but hopefully soon. For the general admissions process though, your interview will most likely not be with a member of the admissions team. Most likely you will interview with one of our alumni ambassadors who's actually based in the city that you are living in. And so the interviews with the alumni ambassadors are a really great opportunity for you to evaluate CBS and make sure that it's the right fit for you and learn about their CBS experience. And when you interview with the alumni ambassador, they will not have read your whole application file. So don't worry, they won't have seen, any of that confidential information that you shared with the admissions committee. They will simply have a copy of your resume in front of them, and they'll be asking you questions based off of that. So kind of same thing to expect, talking about your short-term career goals, longer-term career goals, your background, why you're applying to CBS, that kind of a thing. And so that was kind of the main points of the application process that I really wanted to cover today. You know, something I wanted to make sure to talk about while we're here is, as I was saying at the start, you know, I'm a Barnard alumna myself, and I love having the opportunity to engage with current students and with alumni. You know, we on the admissions side at CBS, we really trust our counterparts in the admissions office at Barnard. We know that the fact that you were admitted to Barnard speaks volumes about your academic abilities, your ability to handle going to school in New York City, which is not an easy thing, and it's definitely not for everybody, right? There's a lot of distractions. So we already know a lot about, you know, just how accomplished and hardworking and driven you are. And we feel very strongly that we want to keep, you know, our Columbia talent at home. So we love having Barnard students come do their MBA at CBS because we already know that you are a great fit for the community and you already know how to make the most of your time there. And the really nice thing about CBS and our admissions process is we are looking for people with a very wide range of backgrounds. We admit folks every year who studied everything imaginable during undergrad, liberal arts, sciences, math. You know, you don't have to have been an econ major at Barnard. And you also don't have to have been working in any specific industry. So, Sophia, I'm not sure if you know what your kind of goals are post-graduation, but, you know, we have admitted Barnard students over to CBS who were working in things like banking and consulting, but we also have admitted, you know, recently Barnard alums who post-graduation were working in nonprofit management, who were working in publishing. And so, you know, we love the diversity aspect of bringing in people with different academic and professional backgrounds. We know that in the long term, it makes for much richer and more interesting classroom conversations to have people who have really different experiences weighing in on cases and weighing in on the conversation. And so, you know, we definitely encourage people never to feel like, oh, I'm not a traditional applicant, you know, maybe it's going to be harder for me. There's really no such thing as a traditional applicant. We really have people of all different kind of backgrounds. So I think that I just wanted to make sure to kind of touch on that because I know that that's something that I hear a lot from folks, particularly because, of course, Barnard is a liberal arts institution. You know, people are not studying business in undergrad, and so I definitely get a lot of those questions. But I've been doing a lot of talking, and you know, we're such a small group today. I do want to make sure that I give you guys a chance to ask questions. So feel free, whatever you're comfortable with. If you want to come off of mute and ask a question, you're welcome to. If you want to pop something into the chat, you're welcome to. But like I said at the beginning, I want to make sure that today's session is really helpful for you guys.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, awesome. Well, first, thank you so much for talking today. It's like, it helps a lot with like getting the bigger picture of the deferred enrollment program. But yeah, so like I said, I'm a rising senior, so I'm definitely interested in this program, just thinking about, you know, business school and stuff like that. So I'm currently studying for the GMAT, but I don't know if like there's a preference of either of the two, or I picked the GMAT personally because I'm majoring in art history and minoring in English. So I really wanted to take the GMAT just to kind of showcase that I have also like a more analytical, like mathematical side to me. But yeah, I'm just curious if like there's a preference or if you see like GMAT is more popular than GRE, or yeah.
That's a good question. So from the admissions perspective, there's really no preference. We trust both tests to show us what we need to see in terms of sort of your current abilities and, able to manage the core curriculum. So we really just want people to take the exam that they feel they'll perform the best on. We do still see more people taking the GMAT just because since that was sort of the historic business school entrance exam, there is still that kind of just bias, I would say, where we see that. But every year, more and more people are using the GRE to apply to business school, and it really just comes down to their comfort level. So if you've already started studying for the GMAT and you're going down that path, that's great. That works for us.
Thank you.
Cool. And so Alexandra, so yes, so for the way it's going to work for the JD MBA program is you will see that when you open up your application for CBS, it will ask you if you're applying to another school at Columbia as well, and you'll indicate that you're applying for the JD MBA. So that's how we will know that you're applying to both. And one thing that's important to know about the JD MBA program is that it is 2 separate admissions processes. So the admissions team at the business school will evaluate your business school application, and the admissions team at the law school will evaluate your application for the law school. And then you can be offered admission to both schools, but you can also be offered admission sometimes only to one or to neither. And so just one thing to just know is that the admissions process itself is 2 distinct processes. In terms of what admissions is looking for, it's not super different from what we would be looking for were you only applying to CBS. I mean, of course we do, yes, in your essays, we definitely want to hear from you, why you're choosing to apply to both and how you see the JD helping with your career goals as well. So we definitely want to hear about that. But in general, with your essays, we're not looking for something super different from what we would be looking for were you just applying to the business school. We want to see that you have been thoughtful about your post-MBA goals. We want to see that you've been thoughtful about how those goals kind of match up with your prior experiences. We want to see that you've been thoughtful about why you're applying to CBS specifically, what about our program has excited you. But that's kind of the rule of thumb in terms of those essays. So if you have any other questions, obviously just feel free to keep popping them into the chat or come off of mute, whatever you're more comfortable with. But that's kind of what we're looking for when we review those applications.
I have another question.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I mean, I know it's hard to ask this question since people can come into the program, 2 to 5 years after graduating college, but how many people would you say make up the Columbia class or the Columbia Business School class that went with the, deferred admissions route?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's truthfully a pretty small number. So 2019 was the first year we had the program. So the first year that folks will be eligible to actually enroll who came through deferred enrollment will be August of 2021. So I'll start to have some actual firm data to share a year from now, which is very exciting. But to your point, because the folks who are admitted through the deferred enrollment program are then spread across not only the 2 to 5 years, but also spread across entering between August and January, we don't anticipate that it's going to be a super meaningful number just because out of 750, it's when you're being spread out like that, it's not going to be super meaningful. But at the same time, what we do look for and what we're definitely hoping for is that the folks who come through the deferred enrollment program, will really be leaders on campus because they'll have had that sort of extra time to start to be part of the Columbia community, get to know what's going on campus, get to know what they might want to be involved in. And you have kind of demonstrated that drive and that ambition to apply early on in your career. So we're definitely hoping that you will be, real leaders when you do come to campus, and that's what we envision. And of course, those who are admitted through the Deferred Enrollment Program, even though you don't necessarily all come to CBS at the same time, you do form your own really nice, tight-knit community for those years before you matriculate, where you get to kind of start building that business school network early, and you get to, get a head start on having that work.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
So something else that I wanted to just make sure to talk about today a little bit is that on the CBS side, even though we're currently, really difficult pandemic situation, we are continuing to offer a lot of different ways for you to kind of get to know CBS virtually. So if you go on our website, you will see that there's opportunity to register for like virtual class visits where you can actually through Zoom sit in on a class. There's opportunities to do what we call virtual student chats, where you actually get to chat with a couple of current CBS students. This is totally off the record. No one from admissions is present, so you can really just kind of get all of your questions answered by them. We also have those on the website. And then we have a really great tool on our website where you can click contact a student. And these are actually CBS students who have volunteered to have their information made available to prospective students. And so you can go on there and you can filter students, by their background, by what clubs they're a part of, by their area of focus. And Alexandra, there's also folks in there who are in the JD MBA program, so you can look for folks specifically doing that, and you can reach out, send them emails. So just definitely something kind of as you continue through this process, encourage you to continue to take advantage of those resources. So that was really it for me in terms of content. I don't want to cut us off if you guys have any other questions, but I'm also, here is my email address on this slide. So that first one, HJD, that's my direct email address. I'm here to be a resource about the admissions process. So, if you have any follow-up questions from today, or you ever want to have a one-on-one phone call or anything like that, please feel free to let me know. I am here to kind of just be supportive throughout the process. I know that with everything going on around the world right now, it's a really challenging time to apply to business school. And so we want to try and make it kind of as clear process as possible. Underneath that, there's also my general team inbox. So you can always email the team at apply@GSB. So if you're ever trying to get in touch with me and I'm not answering quickly enough, if you email that apply, you'll get a response within about 48 hours. And then the last thing I would just add, Sophia, because I actually did not say this at the beginning, while for you, Alexandra, the applications for August 2021 are already open. You could go online, you could open one up and start kind of looking through it and seeing what's there. Sophia, for you, the Deferred Enrollment Program applications, those will open up in December. So if you tried to look right now, you would see it's not an option, but you'll see in December that those will open up, and then you'll have until that April 15th deadline to apply. And of course, we will send out an email, to everyone in our kind of system once those applications are open in December, so you don't have to just guess and look for it. We'll let you know when it's there. But otherwise, I just want to, thank Nikki and the Beyond Barnard team for organizing this today, because it was such a pleasure to get to speak with both of you. I really look forward to continuing this conversation. And otherwise, hope that whether you guys are in New York or you're somewhere else right now, I hope that you are, staying healthy, staying safe, your loved ones are doing well with everything going on, and we'll continue to be in touch.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.